GA4 has introduced a feature that enables us to completely tailor the experience of the reports workspace. We can actually customize all of the detailed and the overview reports, build out whole new sections in that reports menu, and even tailor those as well. So in a sense, the whole reporting infrastructure within Google Analytics can be tailored. We can create new reports and add them into the menu. We can remove ones we don't need. We can even change the dimensions and metrics and some of the visualizations that they're doing already. And so that opens the question of like, why would you do that instead of building a dashboard in a BI tool, for example, like Looker Studio or Tableau or Power BI, or even just pulling it into a spreadsheet? And I think the Venn diagram of when you would use a dashboard and when you would use Google Analytics 4, that does overlap, and there's a lot of gray area in the middle. And I think there's a lot of tasks, there's a lot of reports you can do in both, and so that's where the overlap comes in. But the way I'd like to think about it is that not necessarily about the visualization techniques, because I think you're very limited in Google Analytics 4 and you can have way more flexibility over in your BI tool. But I think it's more around the purpose of being in the tool to begin with, like why log into Google Analytics 4? Because if you're going into Google Analytics 4 just to go grab the same set of numbers over and over again, if I say I need the same funnel or visualization or chart or trend line chart every single day, week or month, then that's a repetitive task, and anything repetitive like that can be automated. And I think that's a perfect use case for building a dashboard or automating some kind of report somewhere. However, using Google Analytics 4 is really powerful. And I think that's where, if you're going at it more of a kind of, I don't know exactly what I'm after, I'm going to explore and play with the data and just go investigate something that we don't know exactly what it is yet, I think Google Analytics 4 is a perfect tool for doing that. And I think that's the key differences between the two. If you know what you're after and you're after the same thing over and over again, then that is a perfect use case for a dashboard or an automated report. If you don't quite know what you're after, I think that's a perfect use case for Google Analytics 4 or logging into Google Analytics 4 and exploring the data that way. The last thing to consider when kind of deciding which way to go with this is more around the data itself. And so when you're pulling data out into a dashboard or a report or even a spreadsheet, you can quite tightly control what data that gets and how you visualize it, of course. But in Google Analytics 4, when you grant someone access to GA4, it's all or nothing with the data. So they'll see all revenue, all traffic, all user data, all spend data from the connected ad platform. So there's a lot of data in there that you don't necessarily, might not want to give someone access to, for one thing. But also another thing is whether or not it's kind of overwhelming or overkill for what they're after. If they're just after looking at traffic by a marketing channel, for example, having access to all of that additional data might be overwhelming and comes with, education and training and getting familiar with this product. Far simpler and quicker access to data could just be using a dashboard pre-built that does exactly what they need. So it's not black and white. It's not like in this use case you build a dashboard, in this use case you use Google Analytics 4, but that's the things I consider when thinking about which path to go down. It's about whether we're exploring and playing with data or repeating the same task over and over again. And there's also consideration around data democracy of whether or not people should have access to all of that underlying data or whether it should be in some way controlled before they have access to it. But anyway, I hope that gives you some food for thought. It's just some things to consider. And yes, of course, you can probably build the same dashboard in Google Analytics than you can do in Looker Studio and vice versa. But it's not about just the tactical process of doing so. It's about, okay, well, who's going to have access to this? And if I provide access to this platform, does that come with a whole backlog of documentation to read first? Or is this going to be self-explanatory? And I think that's the way I approach these things. Anyway, that's it for this video. That's my thoughts on the topic. And I hope you've enjoyed, and I'll catch you in the next one.